Welcome back guys, today's tutorial is a tropical and exotic looking bluey purple green eyeshadow look. It's basically a mix of all the colours in the very bottom row of the new Tropic palette by Natasha Denona. Here are my swatches, and as you can see each colour is super punchy and vibrant, and there's 15 new shades in this palette. It's not out yet, but it'll be in Sephora, Beautylish and Natasha Denona's website on the 8th of March. I'm going to start off with the face today. I'm using the new Yves Saint Laurent Touche Eclat Blur Primer. The one I'm using is pink, but they also do it in orange and blue. The fuchsia shade combats dullness in fair skin tones. The blue one combats sallowness in all skin tones. And the orange one combats dullness in olive, medium and deeper skin tones. As I'm super pale and super fair at the moment, I'm using the fuchsia one just to see what it's like. I also wanted to test it underneath my YSL All Hours Foundation, which is the one I'm going to use today. The colour I'm using is a bit darker than my natural complexion on my face, but my body is naturally darker than my face. You'll see from the final images at the very beginning of the tutorial that everything matches really nicely. I think this one is BR30, which is Cool Almond. Now I've worn this foundation before with no primer, and I think I prefer it without the primer. It just had more of a natural finish without it. The primer is lovely and it really does even out the skin texture and it keeps your oil at bay a lot longer, but I just find that the foundation sat better on the skin without it. Moving on to the eyes, the first colour I'm going to use from the palette is called Zena. This is a lilac-y purple shade and it's in a creamy matte finish. I didn't really have an idea of what I was going to do, I just decided I would try the colours out and see what I ended up with. So on my fluffy blending brush, I'm taking this colour through the socket and I'm also extending it outwards on the outer edge. This is going to be our transition shade, so whatever we put on the lid is going to fade into this colour. And in order to make it visible, I'm going to layer it a couple of times. Then I buff over all of that with a clean blending brush. The next colour I'm taking is Laguna, and this is another creamy matte finish, and this colour really packs a punch. I'm using a flat shader brush to pack this onto the mobile eyelid, so we're going right along the lash line up to where the eye naturally creases. We want to just overlap this slightly onto the purple eyeshadow, but making sure we don't take it too high into that socket. Then we're going to go back in with our fluffy blending brush with the purple on and buff the seam of these two colours together. You need to overlap them so they meet, but you also want that purple to be the most distinct colour above that socket. So you want to try to make sure you don't take it too high. Using a flat shaded brush is going to allow you to have a bit more precision than if you were using a fluffy blending brush on the mobile eyelid. A flat shaded brush will also pick up more colour and deposit more colour. I'm using the tip of the brush to extend that eyeshadow out into a V shape. And I'm using a patting motion to pack the colour on before going back in with my brush with the purple on to blend out the seam so it doesn't look as harsh. You can also pick up a little bit more of the purple eyeshadow like I'm doing here and then buffing over that again. This is going to start to smoke it out and it's creating a nice gradient between the two colours. Then using what's left on the bristles, I'm then pulling that up through the socket towards the inner corner of the eye, creating a nice balance of colour across the entire lid. There are two sparkling eyeshadows in this palette. Mint Frost is one of them. This is the colour I'm going to use on the inner corner of the eye, and then using my little finger I'm going to drag it up onto the lid ever so slightly and underneath onto the tear duct. There are two metallic shades in this palette. Tigerlilly is one of them, and this looks phenomenal in the pan and on Natasha Denona's swatches. Her one comes out so creamy and intense and it swipes onto her arm like a dream. My one, however, does not. When I was trying to swatch it on my arm, it just took me ages to build up the colour. And you can see here, it's just not very intense. So I'm going to use the KIKO Milano Sparkling Trail eyeshadow in number 5. And I'm taking this over the Laguna eyeshadow that we've got on the eyelid. Now you might be thinking, why are you covering it up? We obviously needed that colour there to transition into the purple, and then Tigerlily was going to transition into Laguna. But as I mentioned, my one just isn't that great, and I'm hoping it's just a one-off and not everybody's palettes will be like my one. I'm going back into Mint Frost and I'm just going to reapply that on that very inner corner, and I find these are best applied with your fingers. We're now going to balance the underneath of the eye, so I'm going back in with my fluffy blending brush and Zena. We're going to continue to smoke that out and make sure everything connects with the outer corner of that top V. Going back to my flat shader brush and Laguna, I'm taking that on the inner half of the lower lash line, and then on the outer half I'm going back in with the KIKO Milano shadow stick. If you purchase the Tropic palette, you can of course use your Tigerlily eyeshadow, providing your one's a lot smoother and more intense than the one I've got in my palette. I'm now going in with the tip of my flat shader brush to soften that, making sure it doesn't look like it's just been drawn on and instead the edges blend out softly. The next colour I'm taking is Xotic. This is another metallic eyeshadow, so I'm going to use my finger to press this on the centre of where Mint Frost meets the blue eyeshadow stick. So we'll get a nice transition between these three shades. I'm also placing a small amount underneath that tear duct, sandwiched between Mint Frost and Laguna. I'm going to line the waterline using my ZOEVA Graphic Eyes pencil in the shade Black to Earth. I always gravitate back to this pencil because it's so inky black, it stays in place, and as you can see it's super soft, so you only swipe it over the eye lightly and you get a really good pigment payoff. I'm lining the top lash line with this Pure Cosmetics On Point liquid eyeliner, and I'm not doing anything special. I'm going to line very closely to the lash line and I'm creating the tiniest wing on the outer corner. It really is just a point. I don't want to break up the blue that we've got going on the outer V, so I'm more or less finishing where the eyelashes finish. I've been trying a new mascara the last week. This one is the Mascara Tube by Diego Della Palma. It's a cross between Too Faced Better Than Sex and the Marc Jacobs Velvet Noir, but what I love about this one is it washes off just with water. I'm going to softly sculpt the face using the Natasha Denona Sculpt and Glow palette. I'm using the cream contour on the hollows of the cheeks. I'm stippling that onto the skin using the ZOEVA 117 Petite Buffer brush, and then I'm going to press over that using my Real Techniques Miracle Complexion sponge. Going back to the Sculpt and Glow palette, I'm using the powder contour to go around the hairline. I'm choosing to use this because the eyes are quite intense and we want the contour to be quite soft. I'm now going in with the new Bare Minerals Gen Nude blusher. This is in That Peach though, and as you can guess from the name, it's a peachy tone. This is a mineral blush that comes in 12 shades, all designed to give you that natural flush to the skin. I'm going to take the cream highlight from the Natasha Denona Diamond and Blush palette, and using my dampened sponge, I'm pressing this over the tops of my cheekbones. The finish of this is beautiful and it's really forgiving on textured and more mature skin types. On the lips, I'm keeping it simple and fresh. I'm using MAC's Cream Sheen Glass in Boy Bait. This is a really nice translucent peachy tone, complements the blush colour and works really well with the blue. Oh, you might have also noticed that I'm not wearing eyelashes this week, just mascara. So what do you guys think? Would you rock this look? Please don't let my experience with Tigerlilly put you off this palette, because lots of swatches from other people's palettes have been fantastic. So I'd say that probably mine is just a one-off, so don't be put off by buying this palette. It really is beautiful. Please give the tutorial a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, you can do so by clicking on the image of my face. If you missed last week's tutorial, it will be on screen for you now. And if you'd like to follow me outside of YouTube, my social handles are on screen. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you again soon. Bye!